This is the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities. Through candid conversations and insightful analysis, we aim to provide a deeper understanding of the political, economic, and social landscape of Africa. So sit back, relax, and get ready to explore the diverse and dynamic world of African governance.
Hello. From wherever you're watching, this is episode 1 of the Youth Power podcast series of the Policy Digest studio. And I hope that you can get that cup of coffee, that glass of juice, because we're about to serve you something which might need more coffee, perhaps.
Are you speaking to the right audience?
No. Wherever you are in America, in Asia, wherever you are, in Uganda, in Kaviramaido, in Parisa, in Kavare, just coffee would do. I would advise a stronger drink, but there's an alcoholics bill on the floor of Parliament, so you might be arrested next time soon. So on this episode, we are going to have a conversation with Aloikin who is a social justice activist, who was quite involved in the recent March to Parliament protest. But I think recent would be to undermine that these protests are still going on.
Yeah.
So the March to Parliament campaign that is still going on up to when the objectives are achieved, right? So I'm going to maybe start with first things first. What drove young people to the streets, Bryce? What drove us to the streets? I know you were a part of them. What drove us to the streets?
I think for me, the simplest way that I can explain it, people were tired, You started this thing by telling people to pick juices and coffees. People don't have access to juices or to coffees. Maybe if you had said cassava or something, people would relate. So I think the point is people are tired as a nation.
Sure.
People are exhausted. And what are they exhausted of or with? People are exhausted of the bad system, where there is no accountability, where we keep preaching the gospel that we are poor as a country, we can't afford some of these things. And yet the luxurious expenditures of our leaders, especially in parliament, do not reflect the poverty in this country. You understand? So as you're learning in a school that is almost falling down on you without a library, without a lab, and you also hope to become a doctor one day and operate on someone, and they're trying to convince you that structures are like that because we are a poor country. And you want to almost believe it until the speaker
said we are in the middle, what did he call it?
Middle income, I think.
Lower middle income.
Exactly.
Status.
So you want to believe you're a poor country until the speaker slaps you in the face with a dress of 13 million shilling, Until the speaker slaps you in the face with an entertainment allowance of 10 million. What's entertaining in this country?
It has become so excruciating that we can no longer cry about it. We've started to laugh about it because it's very funny, right?
And I think that's partly it, Yeah. People laughed about it, but now people can't laugh about it anymore. So people are agitated by the situation. And I think that's what largely pushed people or has pushed people to this particular campaign. This is one thing I've kept saying since I came out of prison.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The people that I matched with or was arrested with, particularly my group, because people were like matching in different groups. But the group that I was matching with, I had never met these people in my life before.
Oh, yeah, but I heard you say
I had never talked to some of these people except for 2 people in that team because somehow they were friends I knew before. You understand? So I get to see young people that I've never seen putting on an NRM shirt, a NOOP shirt,
yes, I
an
saw some
FDC
NRM
shirt.
youth leaguers, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some
so
of them, yes.
there's that group too. So there are so many things to this. There is the fact that people are coming from different political parties, but also the fact that these are people who have never even had interest in political conversations. But that's to show you how people are tired. So it's no longer people that have been having political conversations that are concerned, but even young people who only wanted maybe to go to their TikTok, watch their videos that have nothing to do with politics, go back and sleep, go for the parties and outings. I'm telling you, this was a movement filled with buddies. I don't know if you know what buddies are.
Yes.
Yeah, buddies are just those people who want to live
maybe just
the
to
life.
speak about that.
Yeah.
So, I think about like a week or two earlier, Kenya had its version. I think it is still having its version of young people coming up. To what end did the Kenyan show of courage on the streets perhaps inspire the movement here? Do you think that if the Kenyan protests had not happened, do you think the Ugandan one would have happened?
I think it would have happened because it had actually already started. I don't know if you know about Suna James. So Suna James is this young boy, man, who decided to go and march to parliament before the idea of march to parliament happened. So he's actually the closest that ever got to parliament, and he's arrested. So when he comes out,
that
remember,
was like 3 months before or something?
not 3 months before, like a month, just a few days before we started running the campaign. So he comes out. He actually went up to Luzira. They took him up to Luzira. So when he comes out,
wow, that was bold.
when he comes out, he starts a march to parliament on 23rd because parliament was
when
on
he came
recess.
out of prison.
Yes, and it had decided that to sit again on 23rd.
So the protest started with Suna James.
Yes.
When he comes out of prison, he now begins
saying when they come back again,
so
I will march again.
He saw the first scene.
Yes, I will march again.
I didn't know.
So that is way, that was way before the Kenyan thing happened.
Sure.
But when the Kenyan thing happened, it's like a spark, It's like, how we love borrowing trends, Gen Zs, So I think that trend can work for us because the circumstances in here fit with what is happening in Kenya. And even Kenya is a little better. How do we stand this kind of that Kenyans do not stand? You get? So...
And our political context is a bit different. With Kenya, kind of an evolved democracy. Here we are a quasi-military,
civil kind of
communist,
thing. Yeah.
So many political philosophies in the same.
Yeah, actually, I feel like Uganda is a distinct, unique kind of...
We need to find a name for it.
We need to find a name for it. But people have said that before. But also, I want to take us back to the times of Arap Moi,
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Kenya was in a bad place, like close to what Uganda is in at this point, And Kenyans still took to the street. That's how we have this new constitution coming up that they currently have.
That's like 2010?
Yes, 2010.
Yeah.
That's how we have these new leadership structures coming up, a more accountable democracy, more accountable leaders. They have some respect to an extent for things like public assembly, gatherings, peaceful protests at the end of the day. So I feel like we can get there, but we need to understand that you don't just wish it into existence. Like, we wish a good democracy into existence. You put in the hard work.
Boom,
yes.
Magic broom.
You put in the hard work. Recently, we have been celebrating this thing that's happened in Bangladesh, where they managed to chase the PM out. I highly appreciate. So the funny part is, there's a meme I came across, but I didn't know it was a meme. And somehow they had used AI to put Anita's face into that prime minister. I was like, you guys, is it just me or this prime minister looks like Anita? I'm like, please, it's a meme. But anyway, my point was, even in Bangladesh, where people have a success to seeing these numbers storming, over 1,000 people died to achieve the resignation huge. Or the runaway of that prime minister. So there is no freedom that comes at no cost. There is always a cost. That comes
with a single tweet.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There has to be some level of risk, and perhaps we've had these debates severally on, like, should we regret Clicktivism? Is it making people too comfortable? People going to tweet military governments in their pajamas are we using just likes and tweets?
Okay,
and
before I continue, I speak for me and for the masses. What's Clicktivism?
Clicktivism is a type of activism where you show your let's say your anger towards an issue that is happening only online, so it more or less does not translate
like
into
click.
yeah. So you kind of do the awareness, you hope like someone is gonna pick it up and then go to the streets. So the idea is it stops at the click. I don't know the word together on what Clicktivism is. Yeah, it's most like online activism.
Yeah, like people clicking on their phones, I think,
there
or
was
computers or whatever.
There was a huge conversation around how Ugandan young people are naive, and for me, I think there was a new direction to it, that the only people who were only known to be brave are those who went to the bush in 1986, or those who have been fighting since then. Those who were friends of Museveni, the Dr. Besiges, the Mugisha Muntus. I think the face of courage in Uganda has mostly normally been that.
Yeah.
And I think this was a new way of looking at it, looking at the pursuit of freedom to be one which involves a certain level of sacrifice. But maybe I need to ask something. So people, I know, let's say, when Nelson Mandela was fighting for black people, he used to really sell hope, right?
Yeah.
Hope that at one point in time we're going to have this Shangri-La of a heaven. And the idea is, in the face of, he knew that the oppression would come. So where did young people get this hope? Because previously it looked like we had designed as young people to our fate of, I don't want to talk about biology, but the idea is that people had kind of said, I think we'll just let it pass and see.
Yeah.
Where do you think this hope came from? Because I've been observing the political landscape. Young people had resigned to tokenism, let's get co-opted
like
into the movement.
What
Let's go eat as well.
Yeah.
Where do you think the hope came from?
I can't say that I can speak for every young person out there on that particular issue, but I'll give my hope, right? And then maybe the hope of the people that I have in my circles.
Okay.
So I think one, the mere fact that I'm not on some sugarcane plantation in America growing sugar for some master, that itself gives me hope. That you can rise.
While thanking the master,
I know.
Thank you so much. The Bible says that
exactly.
slaves should respect their masters, and without which you are going to hell.
Exactly. The existence of that kind of freedom, even when it came from such dire situations, gives me hope. When is our independence?
1962.
The mere existence of that day in October where we get our independence as a country gives me hope. The NRM government itself, when it went to the bush, led by the current President Museveni, gives me hope that people can rise from the worst of situations to better situations. And me, that's where the hope has always come from. The fact that it's not as
you're not doing
the worst
a new
situation.
thing.
Yes, you're not doing a new thing.
Think
it has been done
it
before.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think generally, before the hope, there is this big cloud of despair. You understand?
Yeah, sure.
And that's more what is pushing people than the hope. Actually, when I would speak to more of the protesters, we sort of, they put us in prison. I don't know what they thought they were doing to us, but it felt like a getaway, with people of like minds, a retreat of sorts.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to later on in the conversation, I'm going to ask about. I really want to ask whether you guys got your Malcolm X moment.
Yeah, so before we get there, still speaking about the inspirations. So during this retreat of sorts in Luzira, in our yellow, beautiful uniforms. Luckily, I look good in yellow.
So see that picture. There are some pictures.
So as we were there,
there are some pictures.
We don't take photos. We live private lives. We do not want to share our good moments out there. So as we were there, most of the protesters, when they would speak, it was despair. You get? Can you imagine? I finished this course. I'm a lawyer. I have no job. I'm a doctor. I have no job. I'm a journalist. I have no job. You understand? I give my story usually when I went to give birth in hospital, And we are stuck, because I gave birth in Palisa, in the main hospital, the government hospital. And you're all stuck in this room, like 4 women on beds, different beds. Equipment are not enough. I remember I gave birth and I got like a really big tear. But for 45 minutes, I could not be stitched because that wire that they use for stitching people wasn't there. I'm bleeding, a lot of blood. I start passing out. Even after I was stitched, whenever I would stand up, I would pass out. Whenever I would pass out. And I had to remain in hospital like for a day or so before they could let me go to stabilize me, you know? But also in the NICU, that is where they put babies that have been born and they have issues or they can't breathe, they need to be supported by oxygen. We are having medical personnel, doctors, nurses, I don't know what they were, arguing about whether they should connect the child on the oxygen because one ward keeps losing its condenser and they keep having to borrow and there are not enough condensers there. As someone's baby is turning blue in the incubator. And now the story gets worse. Electricity goes off and the generator doesn't work. So the oxygen can't work. The condenser is finally here. And the baby is just keeping on turning blue. You understand? And sort of these nurses are talking about it like they don't care. Like they've seen it before. Like it's normal. It's okay. So that's the place of despair where we are, you know. And even from the conversations that we had while there, understanding and appreciating that there is hope or there is some light at the end of the tunnel, but this whole thing is a marathon. It's not like a sprint where you're going to run from here to there. Anita will resign. Accountability will be there. The 4 backbench commissioners will be looked into. Salaries of the MPs are going to be dropped. Etc. That's not what it looks like. This could go on for a month, for 10 years, for 50 years. You get that kind of picture. So I feel people have appreciated that they do not have to wallow in the despair that they can't change the situation. But they have to appreciate that if they do not do anything, the situation gets worse. So let us find a way to contain it as we look forward to like a better Uganda or something of that sort. So there is hope, but there is also a lot of despair.
Maybe just, and I think that's quite a lot. I saw many protesters. One was saying that the dress that the Speaker of Parliament was putting on, it's just the amount of money they needed to ensure they get the flight for their mother to get to Nairobi for treatment. There's so many people who had their own university gowns, and they are saying, guys, like you told us, education is the route to success, but
we have been
almost 80% of people. The padlock got lost. Someone stole it.
Yeah, someone stole the padlock.
So the previously protests have always attracted people from the grassroots, but this was kind of particular. I saw it's people who, first of all, are educated. So it's not like they are naive people who have just woken up out of the blue and they're being like sentimental or something.
Okay, on that, before you lose your line of thought, when a story the boys share in their side, there's a time they call them for a meeting and they're telling them they are so scared they are most likely going to hold a protest in prison. And the boys were saying, but we are just few. Look at us and the numbers here. How can we organize a successful protest in here?
They thought
the warden told them, it's not about the numbers that I fear. It's the quality of the numbers of people here. And that is so right. We had doctors, we had lawyers, we had journalists, we had, name it, people that hold degrees, people that hold, some education level. So you're right. So you can continue.
Yeah, it was really a bit different, and the moment the struggle gets to that kind of educated class, then it has gone to another level. But for me, as I was observing closely, if there is anything that this march to protest quite have inspired, I think they resuscitated the idea that it's possible. It's possible to still stand out, because I think most Ugandans after was it 2021 when I think over 50 people were killed, were massacred, massacres?
Yeah.
2019, 2021.
2021,
2021.
2020.
It kind of spelled a political statement of the willingness of the state to use as much violence as they can, and I think that kind of trauma had gotten to the mind of people of Uganda. So this was like a wake-up call for it's possible. And I've been following the news closely. I've seen protests emerging in Arua, in Kabare. Still more threats of protests are emerging online. So I think the hope of Dr. Bessie doesn't have to be the one starting the protest, but Ben doesn't have to be the one starting the protest. It's starting to come again. Everyone is starting to have their own initiative.
Yeah, and on the thing of fear, people are so scared. People are so scared, you know? And they've always been in that place of fear. You tell your mom you want to protect, they'll shoot you. You will die. You go. That is it. You'll die. They'll come for you in a drone. They'll pick you up. But people have graduated over that fear. I have a lady. She's called Gift. She was part of the protesters. And she had come with a shawl. And she had said she had come with that shawl. Just in case they shot her and she died, we cover her with that shawl. So she came with that. She didn't come thinking she would be beaten or tear gassed. She came knowing there was a possibility of her dying. Now that shows you that she had to overcome some sort of fear. And I think you saw how they deployed that day. They heavily deployed. I had never known certain colors existed in the Ugandan police. But I got to see them there that day. And as I was moving and trying to coordinate my team from different locations to different locations as they kept closing in on us, I was so scared that no one would be coming out that day. And then I still had my phone. And then I could see that famous guy in his vest with Anita must resign, something of the sort. And I was like, perfect. So different people keep popping, you know? Yeah. Different people keep popping. And I'm like, you know what, praise? Because I kept waiting, trying to mobilize more people to grow the number that we had. Till they got us. Police started coming into, because we started from Garden City basement. And we see the police walking in on us. So we managed to escape like 3 people. Only. Oh,
you were with the Pfizers?
No, the Pfizers were all alone.
We're in a different part of the basement.
So even us were in a different part of the basement.
Yes.
So they walk in on us. We had mobilized like around 20 people there. We stopped that. So we ran off 3 people. Somehow we managed to mobilize like 8 other people. So I tell myself, you know what, Praise? It's not about the numbers. Go there and protest. And, you know.
Maybe just to ask, people were climbing on this Parliament Avenue via, I think, this Stanbic Bank.
Yeah.
How did you even get there?
Oh, my goodness. We acted movies. I wish someone was taking. We acted movies. So we had to split.
Okay, I don't want to ask where you had like slept or anything. Just walk me through how you even went into a CBD. And even, because that was close. That was like 100 meters to Parliament.
That was so close.
That was 100 meters to Parliament.
I'll tell you our story. Then I'll share with you the story in a few. I'll share with you the story of someone else that is more interesting than our story. So for us, we kept moving in pairs because we're boys and girls. Okay. So we kept moving in pairs. I was moving with someone who I was acting with, like it's my lover, you get that kind of thing. Someone with like their friends. We're going to a restaurant, we order some food, and then we discovered, okay, no, now is the time. Let's just get done with this, and we march. But the more interesting story is someone dressed in like a garage person with boots went to Parliament, or them have come to wash the MP's vehicle. They let him in, pulls out his placard, and holds it.
We should have gotten that picture. Who is that?
No one, Papa Were.
Papa Were entered Parliament. Doesn't have the guts.
So yeah, but if they could have pictured, this was a good movie, a Bond kind of thing. You know, getting calls, where are you guys? We are here. Okay, do this.
Papa Were entered Parliament.
Yeah, he entered Parliament.
Okay, let's just perhaps take a short break. And get back to perhaps, okay, so how did we enter? How did prison, how was prison? I've also heard of so many stories of how the arrests were were inappropriate. Let's get to that after a short break.
You are listening to the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities.